It's a small flame in your heart. Every one of you has it. It burns steadily. Nothing can put it out. It's the voice within, your intuition. If you listen closely, it knows everything you need to know. When you add in your intuition, the flame grows. Your life becomes magical. Let's turn it on now. Intuition Ignition with your host, Kristen White.
You know, every one of us has intuition. You're listening to Intuition Ignition, and I'm your host, the mystic in a minivan, Kristen White. You know, when children experience loss, you know, they can lose a family member, a friend, anything like that. It can really be deeply painful for them. And our instinct as parents is to protect them from this pain. But actually, that can create deeper pain that is harder in the long run for them to really understand and overcome. So my guest today is a mom and an author of a really powerful book called My Yellow Baloon. And her name is Tiffany Papageorge. And she wrote this book, and she's going to tell you the story on the show, but to help children open up and heal through the power of really telling a story. So Tiffany, thanks for being here on Intuition Ignition.
Thanks for having me.
So first of all, I'd love for you to share that story that we were talking about what inspired you to write this book and what that process was.
Well, I was myself a grieving child, and I'd been through a lot of different things from, you know, moving to losing many family members to a big divorce, but I didn't ever really think about writing a book about it. And then in the 9th grade, I had a very brave and courageous teacher who had given us a deaf and dying unit, and of the many assignments that we could do for the final, the one I chose, and I was the only one to choose it, was write a children's book explaining death to them. My teacher gave that assignment, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I was sitting in my little brother Joey's room at the time, who is the main character, Joey, and I was playing with him, and he was a year and a half old, and it was kind of, the assignment was hanging over my head, but let's put it like this. I was not thinking about the assignment at the time. And as I was playing with him, you're talking about intuition, this entire story played out in my head. It was like a daydream multiplied. It was like, I call it a mind movie. And I saw the whole beginning of the story. And I put Joey in a high chair, gave him a biscuit, and wrote it. I turned it in. The teacher loved it, even though I didn't really love the ending, because the whole thing came until the balloon got away. That's where the book or the story took me. And then I went into like an instruction manual, and it always bothered me. She loved it and really taught me how to believe in myself and the project. And years later, when I had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, 24 years later, I had taken them to the park. We had to leave early because I did not bring an extra diaper. They were screaming in the back seat because they didn't want to leave, and I wasn't thinking of my little story again. And I'm at a stop sign and trying to soothe them, and just like the first time, only bigger, the whole ending played for me. And I got through the stop sign, pulled the car over, didn't have any paper, and wrote it on a deposit slip, the entire ending. And I have been kind of slowly working on it ever since.
You know, they call that, Tiffany, a divine download. So, you know, it's like we get this inspiration. And I wrote my first book, Mystic in a Minivan, and I wasn't planning on writing a book. You know, I had 3 small children in the home. I'm like, I'm way too busy to write a book. And then that whole first chapter just dropped into my awareness. And I think that, you know, I love that you're telling that story, especially on the show Intuition Ignition, because we have within us these divine gifts that can be really powerful tools of healing for other people. And so we really owe it to ourselves and our family and our community to allow them to come in and to embrace them and commit to sharing them with people like you've done with this book. So what is the premise of your book, My Yellow Baloon, that's so important for both parents and children to understand?
Well, I think several things. The first thing I would say, when you get the book, you'll notice that the cover is as dimensional as I could possibly get the printer to make it. And the reason for that is that if we allow our children to feel, if we don't soothe ourselves and them, it's contrary to what we feel we need to do. But if we really let the feelings kind of flow through us all together, that we do become more dimensional as human beings. We really do. And, color is a huge theme for me. It starts out in innocent color where nothing bad has ever happened. And when the loss occurs, the color drains. And it was really important to me to show a child what depression is without labeling them like I was as a child. And that depression label, it's a very daunting one as you go into your adulthood. So if you're down or you're sad or you're depressed, the color drains, but it will come back again. It may look different to you right now, but it's going to come back again. But when the color does come back at the end of the book, it's deeper, it's richer, it's more powerful because we never see life the same again. And the story is about loss. It is no longer about death. It's about loss and the transformation that happens to us if we feel our process. And so I think that would be the main thing. It could be the loss of a toy, a friend moving away, a loss of a pet, the loss of a grandparent, a divorce, a death. Kids lose all kinds of things as we do, and we all grieve those little losses. But what hits me is the smallest of children to the oldest of adults resonate with the story. And I think the youngest of the kids, if we think about it, we are born into this world in loss. We live in our water world for 9 months. It's all we know. We're pulled into this world. We don't know where we are. We have to breathe. We have to eat. We have to figure it all out. And we never really grieve our first original home or what we knew. We don't even remember it. But somewhere innately in us is that feeling of loss.
So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with author of My Yellow Balloon. It's a Mom's Choice Gold Award winner, amazing book, author Tiffany Papageorge. We'll be right back on Intuition Ignition in just a moment.
You are listening to Intuition Ignition with Kristen White. To learn more about Kristen White, you can visit her website at kristenwhite.net. Who is driving your life? Kids, husband, career. Maybe it's time to hand over the keys to your higher self. This is the best place to start a conversation with your intuition. Grab a copy of Kristen White's #1 international best-selling book, Mystic in a Minivan, at intuitionpodcast.com. While you're there, get your free copy of 10 tips to ignite your intuition immediately. Again, that's intuitionpodcast.com. Thank you for listening to Intuition Ignition. Your intuition is just waiting to ignite. The first easy step is to subscribe to this podcast to receive new inspiration from our thought-provoking guests every couple of days. Visit intuitionpodcast.com to subscribe now. Again, that's intuitionpodcast.com.
And we're back, and today we're talking about grief and loss for children. But the book, My Yellow Balloon, it sounds like, Tiffany, it's for children of all ages from, 1 to 99. It sounds like it really has a message that speaks to many people. Why do you believe that stories are so powerful as healing tools?
Well, I think that it is because we are story beings. And if you think about it, just walking from your bedroom to your bathroom to brush your teeth is a story. We live in story. We dream in story. The language of our psyche is the story. We are story beings. And so all the great religious prophets and teachers taught in parables and stories, because it is what we are made of. It's how we learn. It's how we live. It's who we are. So a story can open you up in ways that not many other things can. And so when you tell me your story, then I listen and I hear it and it washes over me, and then I feel compelled to tell you my story. So I think that's why it's so powerful.
It's interesting too. My background is a news reporter, and so I've told hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories of people's lives, and I find that there are certain stories that really linger. Like, we'll remember them for a long time. We'll remember the story. We may not have ever even met the person, but certain stories really touch our heart, and it can be a catalyst to help us move in another direction, to shed some awareness in an area that we hadn't considered looking at. So, in the book, My Yellow Balloon. What's the parable of your story?
Oh, it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor about a little boy in the year 1930. Before that, balloons were on sticks. So, Joey goes to a carnival and for the first time sees these amazing floating balloons, and he can't decide which one he wants. And I think life is like that. Very often we don't know who or what we want. When they lay that little slimy baby on your belly, you know you love them more than anything in this whole world, but you don't know who they are yet. So we don't know who we want, but the balloon man knows who we want and who we need, and whoever that is for you, fate, God, divine, whatever, it doesn't matter. The balloon man knows. And the balloon man appears 3 times in the story, at the beginning when Joey gets the balloon, in the middle in his dream, and at the end. There's this kind of love and who we're tied to, and that the love that ties us together is so much bigger than the human or the physical. It is transcendent, that we are a part of something so much bigger than ourselves, and that is being the full connected part of something so much bigger. So I think that this book is really about that, and so symbolically the book has been written on many different symbolic levels that I had no idea I was writing in. But I learned from a great teacher to go back after the manuscript is done and go back and pick out all your archetypes and then do symbolism research on them. And I had no idea at 14 when I originally wrote this story that yellow is the color of transformation. It's just what I saw. So there's all kinds of amazing, beautiful, symbolic references that I had no idea were being written into the story.
Absolutely.
But fit perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. It really just works that way when we're in the flow. We're going to take another quick break. You're listening to Intuition Ignition, and my guest today is Tiffany Papageorge. She is the author of the book, My Yellow Balloon. We'll be right back in just a second.
You are listening to Intuition Ignition with Kristen White. To learn more about Kristen White, you can visit her website at kristenwhite.net. Thank you for listening to Intuition Ignition. Your intuition is just waiting to ignite. The first easy step is to subscribe to this podcast to receive new inspiration from our thought-provoking guests every couple of days. Visit intuitionpodcast.com to subscribe now. Again, that's intuitionpodcast.com. Who is driving your life? Kids, husband, career. Maybe it's time to hand over the keys to your higher self. This is the best place to start a conversation with your intuition. Grab a copy of Kristen White's #1 international best-selling book, Mystic in a Minivan, at intuitionpodcast.com. While you're there, get your free copy of 10 tips to ignite your intuition immediately. Again, that's intuitionpodcast.com.
All right, and we're back, and we're talking to author Tiffany Papageorge. She's written a book, My Yellow Balloon, which is designed to help children go through that process of grief. It can be grief over losing a loved one. It can be grief over a change in their life, divorce, any kind of situation that can cause confusion or sadness for a child. And, we were talking a lot about, you wrote this book, started it in the 9th grade, finished it 25 years later. Can you speak to other women or moms who may have a project or an idea that they haven't quite given birth to yet in the world?
Yes. First of all, I want to encourage you to do it. This world we need every single voice, whatever that is. And I think that as mothers, we are, creators. We create these babies. We have this kind of creation gene in us. And not to belittle our sons or our husbands or the men, they have it too. But I think that as women and as being the one that brings life into this world, we need to breathe that same life into our creative children. And that's what this has been for me, that I have these amazing physical children, but I also have my creative children, and I'm supposed to bring them both forward. I think that it's really hard to make the time and the space as mothers to listen to our creative voices, but the benefit of it is that we teach our daughters and our sons to listen to their creative voices. So when you can't do it for yourself, do it for them. And if you don't know where to start, find one thing, find one bit of inspiration, whether it's in nature or in a store that just inspires you, maybe something that has great little, plaques that just, there's one store I love to go in. I get a lot of inspiration there. Whatever it is, the ocean, the mountains, whatever it is that inspires you, and just listen to your voice, listen to your inner voice, and know that our creativity is the most powerful thing we have, because in this world of destruction and fracking and oil spills and corporate greed and all of these things, the antidote to destruction is creativity. And we need every single voice out there. Your stories are important. When you hear the voice saying, oh, the world doesn't need this. I mean, who cares about my story? No, we need it. We need it. We all need it. We need you. So make the time, listen to yourself, listen to your heart. It will show you the way.
Yeah, it's just so true, Tiffany. I remember when I wrote my book, Mystic in a Minivan, I was like, who am I to write a book? I'm busy. I have 3 kids. I had never really written anything much more than, an essay in high school or something like that, something in college. And I remember going through that process, and I had read something by Stephen King that he said, just write 3 pages a day. Don't go back. Don't edit it. Don't stop. Just write 3 pages a day. And before I knew it, 6 months went by and I had my book done, and I was still just calling it a creative project. So I think that as mothers, that if we give ourselves the time, just like you said, we carve out that space and we don't edit ourselves too harshly, it's like where you're constantly going back to that same piece of paper. If we just let it all flow, we can always put it away for a little bit and then look at it with fresh eyes. And that gives us the permission to really give birth to something creative.
Yeah, and just so you know, just as an additional encouragement, it took me from the very first time I wrote it and turned it in, 24 years to get the ending to come to me, and another 7 years until it was published. So I just encourage you, be tenacious with your creativity. It might take us longer, but our lives are full, and that fullness only adds to your work. So it's all good.
Absolutely.
But do it.
Yeah, just do it. Right.
Just do it.
All right. Tiffany Papageorge, author of My Yellow Balloon. It's a Mom's Gold Choice Award, and it really is a poignant tale of love, loss, and letting go, and a powerful tool for parents and healing professionals, everyone else. Thank you so much for being with me here today on Intuition Ignition.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Loved it. And everybody else out there who's listening, you already know the answer to every question you would ever ask yourself. And that answer lies within your heart. So just listen to what your heart has to say to you. And this is Intuition Ignition. And I'm the Mystic in the Minivan, Kristen White. I'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for listening to Intuition Ignition. Your intuition is just waiting to ignite. The first easy step is to subscribe to this podcast to receive new inspiration from our thought-provoking guests every couple of days. Visit intuitionpodcast.com to subscribe now. Again, that's intuitionpodcast.com.